was 1969, and if you don't know what happened that year, here's a little refresher. Neil Armstrong was the first man to set foot on the moon. Love was in the air at Woodstock. The first Boeing 747 jumbo jet takes flight. The popular Caesar drink was born in Canada that year. Oh, and I almost forgot, 1969 was also the same year I was born, so I'd say that was a pretty good year. In terms of cars, also a good year. 69 saw the introduction of the Nissan GTR. 50 years later, here it is. This is the 50th anniversary GTR. It's all blue. I'm all blue. We can't wait to drive it. I've only driven this on Gran Turismo, the video game. So before we get to it, let's have a closer look because there's a lot going on here. We really can't miss this color. It's a blast from the past. This GTR is featured in the retired Bayside Blue last seen on the R34 GTR. The graphics package pays homage to those of the early 1970s GTRs, which won 52 races in its first 3 years of competition. This 50th anniversary gets, of course, some special badging and lettering. Also, the 20-inch wheels on this GTR are special for this edition. The GTR features a long hood with 2 functional inlets inside. You have a familiar V-motion grille, except it's a lot smaller than on traditional Nissans. This GTR features aluminum door skins, hood, and rear trunk lid. Now, if you want to go lighter, you can go into the track edition of the GTR, in which you'll get a lot more carbon fiber bits, including roof. In the back, you cannot miss these quad blue-tipped titanium exhaust. It is menacing and it looks so good with this blue. But what I'm really surprised at, not really ever spending any time with an actual GTR, is how large this vehicle is. It's a big car. Open up the trunk and surprisingly it has quite a bit of room. The opening is not that large, but it is very, very deep. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of these 50th anniversary Nissan GTRs, don't be surprised if you get a lot of attention. Everybody wants to see what this car is. For a hardcore performance car, the interior of this GTR is very, very civilized. It's comfy. You sit in here, you have dual power seats. The steering wheel tilts, but it does not telescope. In behind that, you have all analog gauges. Front and center is a large tack with the 50th anniversary insignia. To the left is your speedometer. Check this out. It goes up to 340 kilometers per hour. And one thing you do have to watch out for if you're not used to driving cars like this is the speedometer starts, the zero starts at about the 4 o'clock on a position of a clock. And so a lot of other cars, they start off at about the 7 o'clock position on a clock where zero starts. So in this one, at 7 o'clock, you'd already be at 100 kilometers per hour. So you got to make sure you're aware of that, or else you're going to be getting a lot of speeding tickets, which you do not want. In the center of the infotainment screen, it's very simple to use, very few buttons. I do like how they have one dial on the left and one dial on the right for scrolling, easy to tune radio stations. Below that, dual climate control. Then you have your transmission, your suspension, and your traction control settings on these lower toggles. Of course, that nice red start-stop button. This is an automatic. We'll get to that in a second, but there's your gear shifter, and over to the left, you have your selector. If you don't want to use the touchscreen, you can use the selector here. Manual handbrake, 50th anniversary plaque here. This is all carbon fiber. Check out these seats though. These are really nice heated leather seats. There's a small little 50th anniversary on the back end. And if you look closely, it even says GTR handcrafted stitch. All the stitching is hand stitched on this. That is really nice. And check out the stitching on this Alcantara roof that this 50th gets. That is stylish. Now onto the back. Unless you have really small kids like me, it's a real stretch to sit back there. Actually, it's non-stretch. You do not want to stretch out there. There's no room back there. The seat padding is very, very thin. So yeah, I have the car seats in there. The kids have been in there because I had to pick them up. even they don't want to spend a lot of time back there. It's pretty cramped. And of course, this is a coupe, so it's hard to get them in and out compared to a four-door. Overall, I like that there's not much compromise in this interior at all. It's very comfortable for the driver and the passenger, maybe not so in the back. But anyways, let's go for a drive. All right, inside the Nissan GTR. Now, I'm just driving it in and around town right now, and that's one thing I'm gonna concentrate on. This vehicle is so easy to drive on an everyday basis. Just think of it as an everyday supercar. When you get in, it's not really low. You don't have to roll into it like other super high performance cars. The seats are supportive, but they're comfortable. They don't have hard carbon fiber buckets in here or something, and you ride quite high, or you sit quite high. So visibility is really good. You're not really low like on some supercars. So yeah, I've been driving this every day just in and around town, and I can see what Nissan has done is they've made this a car that can easily be driven every single day, hands down. Okay, we just took off from a light. It just takes off so smooth. So what's underneath the hood? Well, it's a 3.8 liter twin turbo V6, but it's handcrafted. This is hand built by one person. It puts out 565 horsepower and 467 pound-feet of torque. Now, there's a lot of adjustability in this vehicle as well. And one thing for the city, what works really well, when you start it up, everything defaults in normal mode. So you have three toggles. The first one is your transmission. You have normal, you have R, and you have save. R, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's gonna give you a lot harder shifts, a lot quicker downshifts, just be a lot more responsive overall. Normal is what we're in right now, and then save is for slippery or snowy conditions. Then you move over to the middle one, and that's your transmission settings. And a lot of vehicles that I drive that have adjustable dampers, when you switch it over, it's not super noticeable. This one, it is really noticeable. So it starts off as normal, but if we want, we can go into comfort, which we are in right now, and it drives and feels like just any other car on the road in comfort, except it's a little better in response. But and you go into R, it turns out red. Now it is lightning quick. The responsiveness is so fast. Of course, it's going to be a lot stiffer and a little harsher on rougher roads, but on smooth roads, yeah, this is the mode to be in for the suspension. It turns on a dime. And to the right side of that are your traction control settings. If you go into R, what it's going to do, it's going to really open it up, let you actually experience a lot more of the car outside of its safety envelope, let's say. And it's still there. There is still stability control on there, unless you go and turn it right off, which I do not recommend. Just think of R as, you know, that's without anything on. Don't ever turn that off, really. It could cost you a lot of money. Okay, we're coming up to another stoplight right now. Now, one thing I am in love with are these brakes. They're not super powerful, let's say, like, so when you step on it, it doesn't grab a whole bunch of brake first and then lets you modulate. It is very linear, very progressive. So you got to put your foot into it, but whatever you put into it, that's exactly how much you get out of it. And I can see this really helpful if you were doing some lapping on a track. Yeah, you don't want to grab too much brake sometimes, just enough, but it's so precise in regulating that braking power. It's just as important as actually the accelerator, really. Transmission-wise, we have a dual clutch. There is an auto mode. Of course, we can go into manual mode. And in manual mode, you have auto rev matching, your paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, of course. I do like how there is a little bit of a mechanical sound. You can hear it actually shifting when you're even going slower. Just letting you listen to that motor. And one thing about that sound it's not overly that loud, and that's one thing that Nissan has done with this, which I can appreciate in one sense, is that they've used acoustic glass. They've made it really, really livable in here every day for a supercar. Power-wise, those twin turbos provide so much great torque. Just listen to those things. Now, the problem with a car like this and a lot of others is there aren't a lot of places you can drive them properly, that is. Yes, we do not have an Autobahn here in British Columbia, unfortunately, and there are not a lot of racetracks. So, yeah, it's tough having one of these cars and not driving them, or at least opening them up a little bit. Unfortunately, police almost target cars like this. They want to make an example out of you when the car or the motorbike in front of me is going 30 or 40 kilometers faster than the speed limit, and they're still pulling away. I'm probably going to be the one being pulled over, unfortunately. So, yeah, this car is so much more capable than most other cars on the street in handling, getting out of incidences, and braking, but you just can't do that type of speed on the road. However, even within the speed limit, if you can find the right twisty road with a nice straight stretch, this thing is a blast to drive, seriously. But if you need to pass something, just for a split second, it's good to have that type of power. Now, if you launch this thing from a dead stop though, 0 to 60, under 3 seconds. Yeah, all-wheel drive, all 4 tires are always getting you the maximum traction. It just sucks you and pushes you right back into your seat, and 60 comes just like that. It's so fast. Let's try with this brakes and transmission. Oh yeah. This thing is like a large go-kart. It's so nimble, especially for its size. I like the size of it though. This could very well be the best V6 engine I've ever driven. Now, one car this reminds me of driving though is last year had a chance to take out the brand new Acura NSX. That was a treat. And why is it similar and why does it remind me of this? I think they're both everyday supercars. That car, of course, it looks like a supercar in a way that it's got a mid-engine design, but it drives like a really, really fast Honda. It's quiet. It handles like it's on rails, seriously. And it pulls. I don't know if it pulls as much as this. This thing really pulls hard, and the shifts are hard when they hit. But both of them would be very, very livable, unlike some other super high performance vehicles that if you were to do a 2-hour drive, let's say, in traffic, that stop and go type of motion would just be killer on you. And with both this or the NSX, you'd have no problem. But with this one, I think it's even more civilized. You have a more upright, normal driving position. It's easier to get in. There is more storage in this. There's a lot of storage in this. You have door pockets. You even have drink holders here. Just think of this as a nice big touring car as well as something that can do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this 50th anniversary GTR, aka Godzilla. Not just for the drive, but just for the chance to share with other people this car. You don't see these cars around very often. Everybody wanted to see it. I was more than welcome to take people for rides and just let them sit in it and experience and enjoy it the same way that I do. This car has a lot of history. And of course, there's the drive. This car is so quick and it's so easy to drive fast, because it gives you a lot of confidence. Everything is tuned so well with this vehicle. It's basically like driving the video game if you've played Gran Turismo, except a lot better. It's like playing it in 4D, let's just say. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the review. I know I did. Safe driving. Take care. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more everyday reviews, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.